It was just affecting my community and my entire world, and I wanted to do something. The origination of the business was actually volunteer work. I was so passionate about it.
One of the things I love about this community and hanging out with people who have proven to succeed, like my buddy Eric here, he is not only a 9-figure mindset entrepreneur, he is a 9-figure exit entrepreneur.
That's right.
And it's one thing to talk about 9 figures. Oh, I'm worth 100 million. I'm this. This is another thing to actually exit and put the cash in the bank. That's an entirely different game. And this guy's played both sides of the game. So I'm excited to introduce you to Eric. I'm going to have him introduce himself, where he's come from, what he's done, and we're going to get into it. Eric?
Brandon, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure. For the folks that I don't know or don't know me, I should say, I grew up about 45 minutes north of Boston. I got enrolled in America's addiction crisis at a very young age. For me, that was Oxycontin at the age of 14, which turned into a heroin addiction, which for about 6, almost 7 years, I went through hell. And I hit rock bottom on December 7th of 2006. I've consistently been sober and in recovery since that date. So this December will be 17 years of recovery and sobriety. And it was out of my pain of addiction and my enthusiasm and excitement for recovery that I started my business, which I started in October of 2008 as the first sober living home in the state of New Hampshire. And when I sold it 13 years and 2 months later, in December of 2021, it was the largest provider of addiction treatment services in the Northeast.
Wow. I mean, So, people talk about, one of my mentors told me in my 20s, he said, hey, when you find something, and what caused the conversation was the flip phone. I was like, man, I love this phone. And he's like, you should go buy the stock. And I'm like, why? And he goes, because anytime you have a personal experience where you use something and you're like, this is unbelievable, that's an indicator that if you feel that way, a lot of people are going to feel that way, and you should go buy the stock and invest in it because it's probably going to do well. In your case, the experience that you went through, the negative experience of drug use, propelled you to want to solve that problem for other people once you got sober.
That's right.
And you went on a journey and you found your way to sobriety.
That's right.
So you're like, I can help others do it. Which is what I always tell people, is the people you should be learning from are the ones that actually have done it.
Lived experience and have the resume. I talk about that all the time. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly how it went. And in the beginning, I had no idea really what I was doing. I dropped out of the high school at 15 years old in the beginning of 10th grade. My father owned a small business, so I learned about like small business and business principles from him. But I just knew that I was watching a lot of people suffer. I grew up in an area, New Hampshire actually ended up being the worst in opioid addiction and the leader in the country for opioid overdose death.
I think of a little tiny state.
Yeah, most people don't even know where it is. They're like, is that a part of New York? And I'm like, no, it's above Boston. But it really was ground zero for the opioid epidemic, for pharmaceutical pills and heroin. And so I was just watching kids that I grew up with that I loved like family, and they were still in the struggle. And then it was just affecting my community and my entire world, and I wanted to do something. The origination of the business was actually volunteer work. I was so passionate about it that I was going into these facilities that were run down and run by the state. And I was just going and connecting with people that wanted help getting sober and that were trying. And then in that was the idea, I was like, these people need a place to go. I could turn this into a small business. I've always wanted to be in real estate. I want to help people. And I pulled it all together. And so at 23 years old, with a little bit of help from my dad, who believed in me again after a long period of not believing in me, I bought a 3-family home in October of 2008, which was an interesting time to be buying real estate because the world was melting. Yep. And so we bought it for $150,000. It was bank foreclosed. I got some furniture donated. I moved into it, and then I just started charging guys like $150 a week to come stay with me. And I lived there for 2 years with the guys.
And you'd help them through
I did everything
transition.
with them.
Yeah.
I taught them recovery. I taught them life skills. I taught them how to change their life.
Yeah.
And that was the foundation of it. But I never imagined that would, at the time, would grow into this enormous company. And it was big at the
And
end.
so when you sold it, how big was it?
325 employees. We did about 55 million of top line revenue, and I transacted off a $13 million TTM EBITDA.
So you go from your own personal recovery to helping a couple people at a time doing it to creating a business where you had over 300 and would you say 50 employees?
325 employees.
325 employees.
And we had 440 treatment beds, which turned over frequently. And so we did, between 400 and 500 admissions a month. And so, we were doing, 6,000 lives touched a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about impact.
Tons. Not an easy job, not easy businesses, but worth it.
Yeah,
if you love
especially
it.
my guess is that you see a lot of people come through that really are striving to make that change that you made, and some of them can't make the long-term journey, and then you have to see some of that. Huh?
You have to see all of it. Yeah. You have to see all of it. And so, you balance the extreme lows of death, of overdose, of suffering, of abandoned children, of grieving parents, with the high of the ones that make it and the ones that do it. And so when you see them get their year sobriety, their 2-year sobriety coins, you see them reunify with their children, you see them get back into the workforce, be good parents, you watch their families who you met at a time of distress when they came into treatment are able to relax and put their shoulders down a little bit over time, and you see those relationships repaired. It's black or white. These situations typically end up terrible or amazing, very few in the middle. And so you have to focus on the positive and work your way through a lot of the negative stuff and develop a tolerance to it.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, it just sounds tough.
It was tough.
Yeah.